Son, I need to share with you something. It's about time that you knew something concerning me and your mom. You know, I've loved your mom for 25 years and I've been faithful for 25 years. But I want to let you know there's three women that have tried to hinder me and your mom's marriage. And I think it's time for me to come clean with you. The first one, the female that I had to deal with, excuse me, was around your age, and her name was Susie Q. Susie Q, I had these. Um, she was so chocolatey and so smooth, so rich, and I got addicted to her when I was around your age. And she hurt me, son, and I don't want her to hurt you. This could hurt you, son. And then as I got older, there was somebody else. It was a pretty young lady, and she started to just become in my life, and they call her Little Debbie. Son, stay away from Little Debbie. And as I got a little older, son, a cougar came in named Grandma. These people can hurt you. They can ruin you. Stay away from these women. They're not good for you. You understand?
Yeah. Dad, DOG, you're geeking. We have a show to get to.
His name's the Geeker, the Geeker, the Geeker. His name's the Geeker, the Geeker, the Geeker.
What's up, world? It's your boy, Coach EV, aka EV the Geeker, and welcome to another episode of the Geeker Report podcast, brought to you by Tatum and Wade Law Firm, located at 124 East Meat Street, right here in Jackson, Mississippi. Their motto is serious lawyers who get serious results. My motto is, if you want to get paid, you better go to Tatum and Wade. Listen, I am as excited as I've been in a long time. I know y'all think I say this every time I come on the podcast, but every time it is a new person, it's a new adventure, and I have a friend from a long time ago on the show today. I mean, he has so many accolades in his resume. I don't know how I'm going to get through it. He's been coaching forever. When they look at his coaching record, it doesn't say 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. It says forever. He's won over 334 games. He's coached everywhere, East Coast, West Coast, Southwest, he just coached everywhere. He's been a National Coach of the Year. He's been a two-time WAC Coach of the Year. He is a former all SEC point guard, played at the University of Mississippi. He's a Rebel, an Ole Miss Rebel. He coached at Ole Miss. He coached at Georgia State. He just coached at Oklahoma. He done coached everywhere. And now he is the head coach of Cal State Bakersfield. And more important than anything, he is a powerful man of God. My friend, my guy, Coach Rod Barnes. How you doing, Coach?
Man, I am doing great. I need for you to do more of my marketing and more of my communications and business and all that kind of stuff, man. But hey, it is great to be with you again, man. Great to see you, brother. It's been a little while since we've seen each other, and thanks for you having me on today.
Coach, hey, I just tell you like I tell everybody else, Jill G, get out the geek. You're geeking early and it's okay. I just don't want to let you think you're going to get away with it's great to see you. It's been a while. Okay, cool. It has been. But the good thing about you, Coach, is this. You know, uh, our friend, my best friend and your cousin, Roosevelt Barnes, told me this. He said, Evie, your level of disappointment is based on your level of expectation. And so he always told me, and ever since he told me this, I've been working on it. He says, manage your expectation. And so, I have to kid you here, because it's a keeping it real show. I managed my expectation with Rod Barnes. So I knew eventually that I was going to get in touch with you eventually. That is a key word with the great Rod Barnes. Eventually. So when I text you, eventually you will get back with me. Eventually. Boy, I feel like preaching right now. Eventually. Can 10 people say eventually? Touch your neighbor and say, Rod Barnes eventually will text you back.
Hey, EV, as you would say, you geeking right now, man.
Yeah.
You're geeking right now.
Yeah, I am. But but no, it's great to see you as well, Coach. As always, man, you're a man that I've known for a while and just so respected in the business. Just having her, when some guys you talk about and you mention their names and people have all different things to say, sometimes not the greatest things, but anytime you mention Rod Barnes, you talk about what a quality individual, what a high character individual, what a classy coach. And so, man, God bless you for that. That's major in this business because there's so many different, unfortunately, shady characters pretending to be high character guys. And I truly know that you are a high character guy, and that is truly a blessing. So here's what I want to get to, Coach. I want to ask you, this is a question I've been asking everybody, and I'll continue to ask it as long as this pandemic and stuff is going on. Obviously, the world as we know it has changed. You're a few years older than I am. I'm 51. I think you're 54. And for me, the world has never been at this level of kind of chaotic behavior since I've been alive. And tell me how you guys at Cal State Bakersfield has dealt with the thing that everybody's calling COVID-19. Tell us what you guys been able to do during this time.
Well, we've just gotten back. I think we had the NCAA allowed us to get back in the gym on July the 20th. We are moving a little bit slower. Obviously, as you said, man, we've never seen anything like this ever before. And I am one that, obviously being a Black man, African-American here in the United States, man, it's always with my mom and my dad before was just get home safe. So we've tried to be extremely safe. We're now allowing our guys to get in the gym, but there's no 2 or 3 guys. There's no individual workout. Basically, I'm doing it for a mental thing to make sure these guys stay in condition. They get a chance to shoot, but it's single guys on a basket. We've talked about, all the proper things and protocols as far as washing your hands and wearing a mask and social distancing. But we've really tried to do that. And we've even talked about with our team developing our own bubble. We have half of our team here, half of them at home. At the time, some of them wanted to be at home because early on in other states, we got a lot of guys that are from all across the country, especially in the Southeast and then in the South. And back there, during the time that this thing kind of started in the spring, but during the summer, those guys had gyms open. I mean, there were people that was having open runs and stuff. And then in California, that wasn't the case. We shut down early. we continue to stay pretty shut down, which is a good thing to me because safety and health is everything to me. We'll have a season eventually. 2021, unless God says something different or come here. In 2022, we'll do the same. But we have only one opportunity at this thing called life. So being safe, considering health above anything else. And again, part of that for us is for our guys had an opportunity to get in and just exercise. Like, we're not trying to win a championship or a conference or even the first game right now. We just want them to get in and, so they can, be where they've been the most. And that's comfortable, being in the gym and working out and getting some exercise in. But we're definitely not trying to worry about, what play we're running or what defensive scheme we're doing right now.
Let me ask you this. Did any of your coaches, your assistant coaches, I'm sure they live in obviously live in California now. Did they go back to any of their original homes, or did they just kind of stay in California this whole time?
Everybody stayed in California. We had one of our guys who's from Philadelphia. He thought about going back just to check on his family, but just because of the travel and just trying to be safe, all of my guys are here. We have I've talked to friends across this country. They're in the office and thing. Again, I get a chance just this week to get into the office. And the only reason I'm in the office here is just because to make sure that our guys are doing okay. So I'm only on campus 2 or 3 hours a day, and then I'm back out. And that's basically to monitor to make sure that our guys are staying safe and they're following all the rules and protocols that we put in place. But we've been here. We Zoom a lot. We're on the phone. We FaceTime. But other than that, I haven't seen our coaches outside of once or twice since March.
Okay. Also, the other thing that has been coupled with this pandemic has been this racial tension. And, you and I both being from one of the probably most, one can argue the most segregated state at one time, Mississippi. And now you're at probably one of the most liberal states per se in California. What has been your thoughts about the George Floyd, the Black Lives Matter movement, all the different things that have happened across the country during this time? That's kind of like, it's almost like the pandemic and this has joined together and causing this massive amounts of chaos in the country, but also it's given a more of a social awareness to the plight that the great Martin Luther Kings of the past and Malcolm X and even the Colin Kaepernicks here recently have been trying to talk about. What's your take on all, a little bit of all of that?
Well, the first thing, obviously, I always, and I think my cousin Roosevelt, kind of spoke to you about seeing the positive side and seeing the good things out of each and every situation. And obviously, when you get a chance to speak to him, tell him I said hello. But systematic racism, and from my standpoint, obviously, we always are thoughtful. The prayers of the Floyd family to see what happened. I think we had, if you want to call the opportunity, it was somewhat of a perfect storm. Maybe the wrong kind of storm, but the perfect storm for that situation to happen, for the pandemic to be going on. Everybody got a chance to see it. Probably, and I will even say this for myself, probably if I hadn't been home and been able to just sit down and pay attention to it, it would have been something that happened. It would have been brought to my attention, but just trying to move forward, just in life in general, probably would have passed it up. If we go back and, we start looking in our past and we look at all the things that have happened, over the last 10 years, you would say, there's several incidents that could have brought about the racial unrest that we're having in our country today. And even if we pick times, just a few months ago, there was 2 young men here in the state of California that was found hung. Now, whether that was suicide or whether that was someone actually committed their murders. But because of the Floyd situation, it was kind of looked over. If we look at the situation with Breonna Taylor right now, because it wasn't a first, because it didn't really ignite something. And even though the protests are still going on, and we'll continue to hope that justice will prevail in that situation, it's something like never before. But as you said, being in the state of Mississippi and having to grow up there in the early years of my life and seeing segregation and seeing racism up front, the only way that we're going to get past it is confrontation, and that's to confront the issue. In this situation now, across this nation, across this world, with Black Lives Matter leading the way, we're confronting a lot of the systemic racism. And when you're in a business, in an area of influence, in an area that you partake in, being racially profiled, having different types of system that will limit you as first of all, a Black man. They've been in place since slavery. It's been 400 years of dealing with this and trying to get to not just equality, trying to get to a place of equity. And we have a lot of work, as you can continue to see. When you think about, here we go, we got the pandemic, we have George Floyd. When you look at the amount of deaths and seeing the impact that it's had on the minority community, the Black and Latino community, then you start to see we have an issue here as far as healthcare, where so many people are being left behind, don't have the proper healthcare. Some of them don't have healthcare at all. And you got to try to wonder, why does this happen? But it's been spoke about, it's been talked about for years. But now I think because of the attention that this is seen, and I think some people were unaware really how bad it is. It's got us out front and up front, and we've been exposed, and now how we're going to deal with it.
Let me ask you this, along that same lines, just switching over into Black college coaches per se, and you, Coach, being honest, have been one of the fortunate Black college coaches who have, obviously you've had some success, but you've had some challenges at some colleges as well. But then to continue to bounce back and, continue to have a head coaching job, because unfortunately, there's several Black coaches that usually only get one chance as a head coach, and you've coached at 3 different colleges, which is no question attest to your not only your coaching ability, but I believe your high character and the way you run things. But what do you talk to us a little bit about how you feel that you were able to achieve that, continue to succeed in the midst of the challenge, when it comes to Black coaches, and then also speak to the fact of how do you think that we can change the narrative of getting more Black coaches?
Well, first of all, I couldn't go farther and profess to be a Christian if I didn't think it was the grace of God that allowed me to have another chance. And that's not to say anything against other coach, their relationship, where they are in their faith. I just have to give credit where I think credit is due. As you just mentioned, majority of time, if you're, I like to use the word Black. Some people like African American, but being an African American or Black coach, you get one opportunity. We got so many great coaches that have had great records, guys that have been to the Final Four, guys that have always had winning records, guys that have done some things in conferences in their regions that, if you start studying, it really hadn't been heard of, and then they get fired and they don't get another opportunity. I think a lot of that, as we deal with it, it's one of the things that, we just got through discussion. It's a systematic racist issue, and how we gotta, as I mentioned, how we gotta confront it. We gotta go straight at it, because again, you can't have coaches that, when we just even come to mind, there's no reason why a guy like Nolan Richardson, probably one of the greatest coaches that ever coached in college basketball, and he gets fired, and it becomes one of those stigma things of, how can he get another head coaching jobs when I've competed against coaches, I've coached against coaches that they didn't have great records, and they would get fired, and then they would get a better job. They would have a better opportunity, and that never happens. And that's when I speak of when you start talking about systemic racism in the sense of how you view. One of the things, and you said it, Evie, I've always approached this in a manner to do the best thing for the student athletes. I've always wanted to run a clean program because I wanted to always have a testimony that, that being a man of God, man of faith, I made many mistakes. I don't claim to be perfect at all, but I do claim to be a believer. And because of that, I make mistakes, and thank God that he forgives me of it. But I also can't just talk the talk. I have to try to walk the walk. And I still fail at things. I'm not that friend, as you just said. It take you a while to get back to you. And when you're a truly friend and you're a man of God, you should respond to the text within 24 hours. That's straight kind of business. So I'm still working on some areas that I need to work on. But to do that, I think I'm one of the guys in this business as a Black guy. Didn't try to have a platform, was too intimidating. What I've tried to do has been, I think, is one of the things that Dr. Martin Luther King did. I've tried to go by the business of what I do with love and prayerfully and hopefully, and it's proven itself, love conquers it all. So I think I've done some of the things right. I think I've tried to move programs forward, but also I just think, I've been favored. There's a lot of good coaches. There's a lot of friends of mine that should have had another opportunity or even had their first opportunity. I mean, Evie, when you look at the disproportion of student athletes and that's playing in college basketball, and that's all I'm talking about, men's basketball especially, and the amount of head coaches we have in this country, all that would tell you right from the beginning is something's wrong here. And regardless of that, I've been on Zooms, I listen to coaches, I listen to head coaches, assistant coaches, and they keep talking about training, and they keep talking about resumes, and they keep talking about, seminars, and they keep talking about growing and X's and O's. And I agree with all of that. But I'm telling you right now, we have guys that are sitting on the bench as an assistant coaches, associate head coaches, that are great coaches this day, that's already prepared, that's been under some of the great coaches. Some of them have already proven that they can be head coaches, and they don't get an opportunity just because of just the systematic racism that's in college athletics.
Yeah, and it's really not fair. I just think about so many guys, like you said, it's interesting, and there's nothing against, this is not a bash white coaches show or anything like that. But when you think about some of the, Richard Pitino, and I look at some other guys who've gotten jobs in their late 20s, and because of, Billy Donovan, and, we always talk about ready. Ready is, a relative term. I think ready can be something that people don't used properly. None of us are ready. We got to get an opportunity to just throw in there. Whereas now you're a Black coach, now you start to get your first job at around 40, and then they're still questioning you. Are you ready? Then, think about a guy that just comes to mind right now, Terry Johnson, who's the assistant coach at Ohio State. He was all those years at Butler, and every year he got passed over for another Butler guy, and he, and it's just like, and I happen to know Terry personally, and I just know when is he going to get a chance? And there's hundreds of others, that have been coaching as assistants for years, and unfortunately, you look at a DJ Stevens at Michigan State. He's been under Izzo for I don't know how many years. I came out in 1987 with DJ. And Cornell Mann with Conzo in Missouri, just to name a few. And so it's not fair. And but you're right. favor isn't fair, and you've definitely been favored by God. And I truly believe that your relationship with the Lord, I believe that, regardless of what people say, I believe that's had a big impact along, to go along with your, your ability to coach the game. Because at the end of the day, there's all different things that happens, injuries, man, you picked thought was the right kid, but he was the wrong kid. I mean, everybody does that. I mean, if you look at Coach K's first couple of years at Duke, if that would have happened in this year, he may not have made it to who he is, today as Coach K. So and then we're talking about resources. Then when we do get a job, talk to us just a little bit about that. When we do get a job, sometimes it always seems to be the most challenging job.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, you look at my career. I was one of those guys that was doubted early. Still, people doubt me to the day at time, but it's not what they think about me. So, just being at the age of 32, I took over a job there at the University of Mississippi. That was at the bottom when you start talking about resources, support. When you talk about the investment that is made, and at the time that would have been made. I mean, you think about, we had won 2 back-to-back, Western Division championships. I had been to the NCAA, 2 years in a row, and that was the best that it had done in the history. And then after that, we built on some things that Coach Evans, was my head coach, and then I got the job at 32. And that happens so often. Again, a lot of the coaches, and it's kind of a thing, even in the coaches circle of, you better take the job because you won't get an opportunity to get one of the better jobs in the conference. I mean, even when we look at a lot of coaches and they take job, when Black coaches take them, that there's a rebuild job, or it's a job that has never won. And I'm talking about majority. I'm talking about a minority. There's always 2 or 3 out of difference that would have an opportunity. But when you talk about Black coaches in general, most of the time we take tough jobs, low investment, low resources in it, and then we've got to prove ourselves, and when, others get the opportunity, a lot of times jobs are already set, they already got the support. You go in and things are already there, and so you get off to a good start, and that's what it's all about. You have success, it breeds success. So when you're given everything that you need, and not everything that everybody gets everything, but when you just start thinking about it, when you look at the investments that are being made comparative, to white coaches, and then it's obviously a difference there. And because of that, I mean, you think about it, and I've had several situations. If you got a situation where you mentioned the guy, DJ Stevens, okay, one of the best coaches, I think, in the country, been ready to be a head coach. Whether, I don't know why he hasn't gotten an opportunity. His coach is a legendary coach, and Tom Izzo, they've had success. They've been to the Final Four. He's been a big part of it. And there's no reason why he shouldn't have been a head coach. I mean, he should have been a head coach to me at a high Division I level, because if it's, people talk about it, we follow it, the Izzo way of doing things, and then here's a guy that's been there, that have paid his dues. When you look at his situation, and if you were trying to hire him away from them, then it would take a lot of money to do that, to get one of the best assistant coaches in the country. And then if you take upon another job, you're not going to get the best of the best. A lot of times we say, which is not always true, but again, we compare. You kind of pay for what you get. If you're in a high-profile situation and you're a high-profile coach, and let's just say a Black coach, and your budget is, 12th, in a league of 12, your pay scale of the coaches are 12th in the league of 12, then you're probably going to get the 12th best coaches in the country. Well, how does that help a program that's 12th? Where if I was at 12th place, but I could go up and get a 3rd place guy off another staff, a 4th place guy off another staff. And it's because of the experience and what they've proven they can do. And when you can't do that, you're always fighting an uphill battle. And we see that across the country, and we see it in this business. Hey, do we get paid good money to do what we do? Yeah. Is this a good profession? And I don't want to just make it out of men's basketball. I think whatever areas that you deal in, that's what the hand that we've dealt. And that's why I think the unrest in this country, I think we've been exposed as a country. And always, as being a man of God, you're hopeful, you're proudful that this will be a change, as it was in the 60s when King them made their marches and they protested and they boycotted, and it made a change. I think we're set right now for things to change, and I just think we've got to continue to put pressure on the system and continue to move forward and not complain. And you made the statement, and I always say that. I think a lot of times we look at this, and I don't ever want to offend someone in the sense of, just calling them, because it's a group. When you say white coaches, you're putting everybody in a group just like you do black coaches. I think what we all would like to do is just be the individual person that we are. Judge Rod Barnes on who he is. That's what King always wanted, the character, who I am. And we want that, and judge me by that. Don't judge me because, you just say I'm a black man, because that we've already stereotyped what a black man is. And we've done that as a group. And I think that's one of the issues that we're having in our country today. And hopefully what Black Lives are doing, and other people that are not even part of Black Lives Matter will understand how important it is for us to have change.
Yeah. Well, let me shift here because I want to go into this segment of the show we call the What's Your Geek? The What's Your Geek segment, which is brought to you by Fahrenheit Graphics and Sweet Mary K Photography. The What's Your Geek segment, let's get to know who Rod Barnes is besides coaching. Let's talk about your wife, Bridget, your children, and then let's talk about that illustrious career at Ole Miss as a player, and then just anything that you would like, else to add that we may not know about the great Rod Barnes.
Well, people, you use that word "great." That's a powerful word right there. So, first of all, I have a lovely wife, Bridget. We've been together, I think, nearing 30 years now, fixing to celebrate 27 years here this week. And I met her kind of, in a kind of interesting kind of way, just over the phone, and we built a great relationship. We have 3 boys, Corey, who now lives in Cordova, Brandon, who's our middle son. He works for me now. This is his second time working for me. The first time he was in the ops. Now he's an assistant coach. And then our youngest one is Bray Barnes, who played for me here, is here still in the city of Bakersfield, and kind of an entrepreneur and substitute teaching. He's kind of one of those guys that's still trying to find himself. I've been very fortunate. My family's been great. They have been definitely coaching family. They understand the long nights and dad being away, and my husband, spending late nights up, whether that's watching film on the road, recruiting. My mother, Gladys, she lives with us. She's been with us since I got the job there at Ole Miss as the head coach. And she moved up to help us raise our kids, and we're thankful to her, and she's doing well. Just being there in the state of Mississippi, one of the things that being a son of a sharecropper, I wanted to make a difference. And the University of Mississippi, obviously, people had concerns at that time, being in the 80s, but it was changing, it was developing, it was growing. But I wanted to be where I can make a difference. And to do that, sometimes you have to put yourself in very challenging situations. The University of Mississippi was good to me then, it's good to me now. Everything I wanted to get out of it, I got out of it, because I wanted to put my family in obviously a better position, and being just a son of a sharecropper and following that. And I got to get an education there, met great people, have great relationships until this day. And that's been really a blessing for me, just from being able to be, and even when I talk about systemic racism, black and white and things like that, I went to school there at the University of Mississippi and found a way And I think about what John Lewis mentioned about just make a way, finding a way to make it work. And it wasn't the most difficult thing because I always looked at it from a viewpoint of being able to have an impact to help my family, but also help others. I've been in this business a long time, and obviously it's changed. As you said, some things, there's some changes that have happened. This game has been very, very good to me, very, very good to a lot of people that have been around me. I still think we got a lot of work in the profession to do. And I'm just thankful and grateful, just even, to be on the line with you today. And it's not a geek, okay? It's not a geek. To meet someone like you. And I want to tell you this because this is the thing, and you probably can get where I'm coming from. When you know people that are believers, again, we all have fallen, but we get back up. When you talk to people, when you text people, when you come in contact with people that you know that are believers, man, it encourages you. I know, hey, man, if I'm going to talk to EV, if I'm going to text EV, hey, well, somewhere in there, we're going to talk about the Lord. Well, we're going to talk about the moving of the Spirit. We're going to talk about some prophetic stuff. We're going to talk about what God's saying and what he's doing. And as a coach, for me, being in this position I am, it's great to have friends like you, because sometimes you get to going down the wrong track. You get to, failing and having some doubt, and then all of a sudden you have a conversation like we're having today. And man, it just encourage you. You send me a text and say, hey, man, I'm watching you. I'm following you. Hey, come on, man. I'm praying for you, coach. It keeps you moving forward. And I'm thankful for that. And because of this business, to have a relationship with you and obviously Mies and Rose, there's some things that I never would have accomplished or been able to have people in my life that I have. And I'm thankful for that.
Let me ask you this, Coach. I want to still stay in that what's your geek part. I want to talk to me as a player. When you was you was an all SEC point guard. Like describe to me what I was a point guard too, and me and Tracy Dildy kind of talked junk a little bit, and I know Tracy's a good friend of yours as well. And I told Tracy it was just no way that he could guard me back in the day, and obviously he thinks that there's no way I could have guarded him. And so you being a point guard, and I know your mantra is defense, and my mantra is offense, and I think it would have been hard for you to check me because I had a lot in my game. But so just talk to me a little bit about your game and what you really did well back in the day as an all SEC performer.
Well, I competed. I mean, that's the thing. I love the game so much. I wasn't the most athletic, fast, biggest guy on the court, but nobody was going to, I felt like, outwork me. One of my biggest things when I played to be in better condition than everybody, because I felt like the end of the game was the most important because that's when you're going to have the W or the L. So I felt just like through the course of a game, whether a guy was faster than I was or whether a guy was stronger, I was just, try to nag on him and wear on him, and hopefully by the end of the game, when we needed points, when we needed assists, when we needed a play, I tried to make that play. My senior year, I ended up averaging 19 points and ended up being the, all SEC. But I think probably the 2 prior years, which I probably feel so good about because, I averaged probably 10, 11 points. I think it was 6 assists, 2 or 3 steals, and I ran our team. I was just what you would call, and we would like to say, a point guard. That if I had to get 18, I could, but if we had to have a night of assists or, if I had to get some extra rebounds to help on the glass, I was one of those point guard. And I just feel like, having the opportunity to put myself in a position to play in the SEC because the competition was so tough. You just had to get better if you wanted to compete. You're talking about the best athletes, in the country during that time. So they were going to every night be someone faster, quicker, or stronger than I was. But we oftentimes say, it's who has the IQ, who's a smart guy, who's going to make the right play. And I really, really prided myself on that, making the right play each and every time and being consistent for 40 minutes. And, you know, I had some success, but I had that because I had some good teammates, you know, even from the very beginning. Eric Laird, you know, has passed away, was a great defensive player. And when I went to Ole Miss as a freshman, he guarded me all the time, you know, and because he guarded me all the time, it made me be able to take care of the ball and understand. He was an all-SEC defensive player and potential pro. So early on, you know, I got thrown into the fire and had to respond. But I just think because of my fire, my desire, my love for the game, I just tried to grow each and every game. So played against some great players, EV, and Tracy Dill is one of those guys. And if you listen to him, he has a story about me playing them. And I don't even remember him. He has a picture that somewhere he took, you know, that shows that we were in the same game. And I told him the same thing. We won. I mean, you know, he talked about his points. I mean, I don't even remember points. I just know we won, you know, and that's what I told him. I'm a winning point guard. You want a guy to score a lot of points, or you want a guy to win games, or you want a guy to make a lot of assists, or you want a guy to win games. I just win games, man. So, and you said that you're a good offensive player, and I tell you, it's kind of funny. I was known as a good offensive player, not known to be a great defensive player. And maybe that's one of the reasons why I've turned into what people would quote say a great defensive mind or a great defensive coach, probably because I knew how I could get away from guys. I knew what would cause them problems on the offensive end. So as a defensive coach, I try to implement things to take away from some of the better players we play against.
One last little piece about that is if you had to pick an NBA player back in the day that your game was similar to, who would it be?
Ooh, back in the day.
Or even today, you know, like even if you find somebody today, you can say, man, you know, or give us both.
Oh, wow. Probably, you know, obviously, I mean, Magic Johnson is my favorite player of all time. So
Mine too.
Just because, you know, I think he's the greatest point guard to ever play the game. And some people would argue that, but I wouldn't have no arguments about that. But probably, you know, back in the day, I was, you know, I'm trying to think about who would be a little bit. Boy, that's a tough one, EB, because I was probably somewhere in the latter years of Dennis Johnson, you know, that played there for Boston, a guy that kind of did a little bit of everything. I'm not sure that people would look at him as a pure point guard, and that's what I think I was, a pure point guard. You know, in today, you know, I obviously with the athleticism, it's hard for me to pick when you start thinking about these guys and how athletic and how they play today. I would probably not be the passer, you know, but probably John Stockton would be a guy that, you know, kind of not the fastest guy, not the biggest guy, but, you know, ran his team and passed the ball well and could make shots. Today, oh man, it's so, those guys are so talented, you know, and you know, I couldn't even imagine trying to play out there with them now with the ability that I had back then and being an all SEC kind of player. But, you know, it's guys that, you know, I probably had the competitive spirit of a Damian Little, you know, because, man, I was trying to win. If I had to put it on my back, I would. But probably, you know, probably a guy I would say probably more would be a little bit of Chris Paul. You know, I think Chris Paul is a big guy. So if you put those guys together, you probably could come up with someone that I could have been somewhere in that vein that you would say, well, that's probably Rod Barnes right there.
Okay, that's great. Those are some great names there. I mean, that's. I mean,
if we're gonna do it, we gotta do it great, right? If we're gonna do it,
hey, we might as well. I mean, those are some great names. Coach,
Yeah.
Let me shift as we get ready to bring it to a close, man. I want to talk a little bit about. Let's talk about your coaching career and just kind of go over uh, some of the things that, like what is the Rod Barnes brand? Because at the end of the day, ultimately, um, when we look at college coaches and look at teams, it is about the school, but it's really about the coach, how he puts the team together, because the kid's going to play for the head coach. I remember when I used to do AAU and I would talk to assistant coaches, I would say, man, no disrespect, but I need to talk to the head coach because he's the one that's giving out playing time. How do you see my kid? So when a kid goes to play, looks to play for Rod Barnes, tell us what they can expect and tell us about Rod Barnes' philosophy.
Well, I think that first of all, I take approach of a holistic approach, and I just believe in that. I think the space and time that we play basketball, whether we end up playing pro basketball or not, is just a small window in our life. So to me, I start, first of all, I want to coach the human being. That's mind, body, and spirit. I want to be involved. I'm a hands-on coach. So the first thing is just about that person. I tell parents, I tell players that if they come here, when they leave here, they're going to be better people because they're going to be surrounded by people with high expectations of them off the court just as much as on the court. So the way we go about it, I take each young man as they were my own son as far as the overall picture of trying to give them direction. The second part of that is, just the academic part. What kind of experiences we have. And a lot of people look at that as, who makes your grades, and that's great. Who has the highest GPA, that's great. But also, what are the experiences? What is being spoken to you on a daily basis to encourage you to be a lifelong learner? And that's super important to me because, I'll pull this all together when I finish. And then the last part is just the basketball, which I'm the one I'm so passionate about, especially a guy that went to a league, played in the SEC, underdog, had to overcome, had to play smart, had to take their talents and ability and make it work. And think I did a good job from being the 15th guy on a 15-man roster my freshman year to being all league, so the improvement there, that from one year to the next, if you just look at it, and I believe we can do the same thing here. But to go to put it all together, I'm here to help build young men and be kind of on the last line of defense or on the front lines right before they go into life. And hopefully we can pour into them. What we do is really intense. It's not for everyone because we're trying to change mindsets. We're trying to put guys in a position. We're trying to make them better. And when you make people better, obviously there's going to be some tough days. But in the end, I think our track record speaks for the success that we've had with our student athletes. So to put that all together, it's the person first, because I believe in this, Evie. You can be a great basketball player. You can be all world. And if you're not a great person, man, what is going to happen to you after your college career, your pro career over? The decisions you make, the lifestyle that you live. And all of a sudden, we see it happens all the time. We have guys that, man, we talk about how great they were and then look where they are today. You can be this smart person and you can be a 4.0 student. But then if you don't make life choices, if you make the wrong decisions, you still can find yourself living a miserable life. And I hope, and we pray, and we work on it, and we challenge for guys to make the right decisions. We want productive young men. We want great fathers, great husbands, and great community leaders. And we press that. And sometimes at the expense of being successful, at the expense of, trying to teach a guy a lesson and then not winning that game. And I've had that happen in two situations where I was in the NCAA tournament and disciplined some guys and, ended up maybe costing us a game or costing us from advancing. But if you talk to those guys today, they're better human beings, and the guys around them have respect for me for making the decision I made. We're not going to win at all costs here.
Well, that's great. That's great to know, Coach, because, let's face it, you're, hey, unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to look at it, you're based on, a lot of times it's based on wins and losses. And so when you make a stand like that, uh, that's powerful, because that does help the young man down the road, to let them know that you're not gonna just do, integrity matters, and
Yeah.
that's basically what you said. Two more questions as we wrap up, Coach. Cal State Bakersfield recently, you had a lot of success. You guys was in the WAC, and now you guys have moved uh, to the Big West. Talk to us about the change, and as far as leaving the WAC and going to the Big West, and what you see differently in conference.
Well, it's really been really good for us just to see the excitement of student athletes, see the excitement of our community, see the excitement from our administration. Obviously, there was reasons that we felt like we were in the WAC. It's a traveling league. We were having problems at times. I wouldn't say problems, challenges of being in class doing conference play. This will allow us to do that. It'll allow everyone that's in our league is in the state of California except for Hawaii. We have some of the teams that been a long time rivalries from the Division II days, that we'll get a chance to renew those rivalries. It's really easy for most of the games that our fans can get to. A lot of the people here in the Cal State system stay here in the state of California for their jobs. So we have a bunch of alums in Southern California and Northern California. So they can come out and support us, where, when we were traveling, whether that was to Chicago or Seattle, obviously you couldn't have fans traveling there. So it's really a good thing for us, but, also important, we can finish a game and get home and have our players and families in the bed by 10:30, 11 o'clock on most of the games that we play. So that's really important. And I think another thing is just the sense of being in a league that people are very, very familiar with. It can help us from a media standpoint. So it's been all good. I think it's a very competitive league. There's been a lot of balance in the league. Different years, different teams go to the NCAA tournament. No one has really established themselves as the premier, team in the Big West. So we get a chance to go in and compete. I think the talent level is, equal to what we were dealing with when you talk about New Mexico State and Grand Canyon and some of the teams in the WAC that were really, really good. So I think we can go in and be competitive. We've got an older team, a more mature team. We've set ourselves up, hopefully if we get an opportunity to play, I think we can be very competitive right away. And again, that's by design. We got 5 starters back. We got 2 guys that started in games that are back. So we've got a veteran team, and obviously it's again, we've kind of identified it's a tough, every night it's really competitive. And I think it's the team that has the toughness and the grit and the togetherness of the teams that come out. And hopefully we can bring our brand of basketball into the Big West and be effective.
Well, Coach, one last question, man. It's been a joy to have you on, man. I'm just excited. But I got to ask you the question that I ask all of them, like everybody, because got to put you on the spot. Like, what can we expect from Cal State Bakersfield? Now basically you just told me you got 5 starters, you got 2 guys that came. So that sounds like 5 plus 2 in 49 other states is 7. So you got 7 legit players, and I know you got a kid by the name of Cam Smith who came from a #1 JUCO here in Mississippi, Pearl River, who is the real deal. And he's the real deal in the sense of he's such a great intangible guy. He's not, I've seen him play myself, so I can talk about him. He's a 6'7" kid who can do a little bit of it all. I really like him. So in my mind, I don't know anybody else you got. So you got 8 guys. Talk to me. You know, we can go through the whole geek of the league. We are blah blah blah. Geek, 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 geek. How are we going? Where is State Bakersfield going to finish in the Big West this year? Are we going to be in the top half, or are we going to be in the bottom half? Or are we going to be in the middle of the pack? I need you to tell me.
Well, our expectations, obviously, and my great friend Roosevelt, my cousin, said, "Hey, man, where's the expectation level?" Our expectation is to be in the top half, and I think a lot of the things you just said. I mean, if we can stay free from injury, I think we have the making of a really talent. I mean, a team that has the talent that could win the league. You know, when you, like you said, when you return 7 guys that have played. And you mentioned Cam Smith, man. I love the kid, you know, and he's a winner. When you start talking about all those intangibles, that means he's going to do what it needs to do, need to be done to win a game. So he's one of those guys that we're really excited about. We're expecting big things from him because, you know, we recruit him for that. You know, he came off a team that the coach played for me, Chris, owned it there at Pearl River. And obviously they went undefeated, and he was a big part of that. And we want those winning ways and that mentality and making those plays to be here. So my prediction is we'll, you know, I got to give it what it is. We're going to win the league, bro. I mean,
Okay.
if I don't put expectations there, we can't get there, you know. So it's kind of like the situation here. When I came here, you know, we were not in a league. We were independent. And I told the people on my interview, we're going to the NCAA tournament. You can understand that from a prophetic standpoint. So we're going to the NCAA tournament. The media smiled, you know, they kind of laughed. The administration looked at me like, what is he talking about? Like, we didn't bring him here to, you know, put the expectations to that level. Now we've gone to the NCAA tournament. So I'm one that obviously I see things for what they seem to be or what they seem to be, but I also, you know, have a spirit that I believe beyond what I see. So I think we're talented enough. I think the expectation would be for us to win the league. You know, so that would be my expectation of going into the season. And I don't mind by speaking it. I've spoken it before. It don't bother me by saying it. So I don't say it in arrogance. Please don't take it that way. I don't say it in boastfulness. You know, I just say it out of what we always talk about, my belief in what we're able to do coming together as a unit. And I think we've got the making of a great team. Hopefully, again, we can get started. Be a shame that we don't get this team here to the floor, you know, because of the pandemic. But, hey, I'd rather have my guys than to be trying to win a championship. But, hey, just so that you know, we said it here on the Geeker, you know.
Hey, I love it, Coach. I love it because the Bible says death and life is in the power of the tongue. All you've done is spoken life over your team. And you said another thing in the Bible, speak those things that be not as though they were. I'm excited about it, man. You're the first person that's went on and said we're going to win the league. That makes you my MVP coach because at the end of the day, what else should you be saying? You know,
That's it.
American society talking about, you know, bulletin board material and all like that. Every coach in the league that has some talent should be thinking, man, our goal is, my expectation is win the league. If
Right.
you're thinking that, what kind of, like, I don't want you coaching me. I don't want you to be a part of me. So the fact that you said it, Coach, that's powerful to me. I'm okay with it. You said it. It's not arrogant. It's, you know, it's confident. And I think it's powerful. And it just says, it talks a lot about who you are as a person. Coach, I don't have anything else. I would love for you to just tell us anything, just if you want to just share, you know, anything to end this. It's been a joy. It's been a pleasure. You know, why don't you just take us home with anything that you have left?
Well, I would say this, man. I think what you're doing, man, needs to be done. I'm not just here because you know, you called and invited me, and obviously it's an honor for me to be on, but I've heard your other guests. I know some of the guests that you spoke to me about that's coming up. You're doing a great thing. And we just, as we talk about this, hopefully, man, you'll get the platform that you can do this on even another level because to share and sit down and listen to coaches and hear about them and their team and their personal life is something that we need to do more of. And man, I'm so thankful, and I'll be following you. And man, you know, I can I ask you a question? Okay.
Yes, you can.
But give me what is geeking? What is the geek? I mean, you give me all of this. You know, even you taking me all. This is geeking and this is geeking, and well, what is geeking?
Geeking is whatever you want it to be. All just a geek. See, geeking is not lying. You know, people sometimes think you're lying. No, you're not lying. If you're into politics, you're into the political geek.
Okay.
Basketball, it's the basketball geek. If you're into cooking, you're in the cooking geek. It's all just a geek. Whatever your geek is. And then, you know, when we say you're geeking, it's kind of like we do these standard things like, hey, how you doing? And, you know, then you go into this, you know, oh, hey, I'm doing great, man. Good to see you again. No, you're geeking. You ain't really good to see me. That's just something you're saying. And then so we say this thing, GOG, get out the geek.
Get out the geek. Okay. Well, I just wanted to make sure. Obviously, I was telling a couple of our coaches. I shared, you know, you had Austin Hatch, and that's right where you.
Yeah.
And I shared it with some of my coaches and stuff. You know, when you had him on, and you know, I heard all about the geek. You told him to quit geeking, and you're geeking on me. So you know, I just want to be able to, when the guys come to me, and I tell them, "This you're geeking, man." So we're gonna try to spread the geeking, the geeker, EV, the geeker. We're gonna start trying to spread that. So I'll tell some of my coaches and my friends, "Man, you geeking."
That's right. GOG, just tell us very simple. We got GOG. It's just very simple. You know, it's just, you get it down to GOG, get out the gate. You know, it's very simple. And I'm telling you, man, Austin Hatch is somebody you need to get your team to talk to. Austin Hatch's story is unbelievable. He's you know, he's a motivational speaker now, and I coached. I mean, I used to train Austin, great kid, and I'm telling you, man, there's no excuse. You know, he loses his whole family, 2 plane crashes. He survives at 8 and 16, and his mindset is, he says, Evie, I couldn't control the event, but I can 100% control how I respond to the event. I think one of the most powerful statements to ever be said. I mean, and you know, it's powerful, you know, but yeah.
Well, send me his number, EV, and I'll get in touch with him.
Okay, I sure will. Coach, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for the time, man. And, you know, as you know, and everything you said here was just powerful. And I'm just, I pray that you have much success at Cal State Bakersfield this year. And I pray you guys will win the Big West and get to that NCAA tournament again. Let's go dancing with Bakersfield.
All right.
All right.
Geeker, the geeker, the geeker. His name's the 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 geeker, the geeker.